Welcome back to the Pagan Perspective. I'm your Wednesday host, Yeka, and this week we have been talking about gardening and our practice. So, first off, do we garden, and is it important in our practice? Yes. So, for me, gardening is very central to my practice as a pagan. Different people focus on different aspects of paganism, or pagan means something a little bit different to each person. For us, for my family, it is about our experience of our relationship with the rest of nature and really understanding that, deepening that, and living in a fulfilling and joyful way with that relationship and connection. So the gardening is so fulfilling on so many of those levels, where it is an opportunity to be present with other life, with the other processes of nature, because I very much believe that nature is not a thing, nature is not a place, nature is a process, and all of us in an ecosystem and in the larger ecosystems are part of that process and relate to each other within that. The main one is often referred to as the great cycle, right? The birth, growth, death, decay, and regeneration. So being in the garden, gardening is an opportunity to really connect with that. It is also an opportunity to take responsibility for how we relate with the rest of the ecosystem. It's an opportunity to gain a better understanding of others, of soil, which is very much alive, which is very much dying, which is very much part of that process of the cycle itself. So it's something that I put a lot of thought into and gain a lot of joy from, and and I find it very nourishing on both a physical level, right? We eat from the garden, but also on an emotional and sort of just grounded place. So right now, it is still about a month off from our average last frost for an annual garden. Here in my zone, May 15th is the average. Now, of course, that means that there's still frosts after that sometimes, and sometimes the frosts end long before that. But it's pretty difficult to get an annual garden going, and we have about 6 months before that. A 6-month season, but to get it going before that is tricky. Now, I do have a few things in the ground already. I've got some of the leafy greens and brassicas. Over here you can see the yard's a mess, but all of that straw is inoculated with oyster and shiitake mushrooms. And then that structure there is a greenhouse on wheels. It's kind of like a tiny house, except it's a greenhouse. It's 12 by 8. And then you can kind of see the rest of the garden here. Up there, where the little giraffe trike is where the leafies are coming up, and in those beds back there as well. This year, that front portion I'm actually sharing with another witchy friend who's an herbalist, and we're going to be growing oats there because she wants the flowers from the oats, and that's something that you just basically can't get unless you grow them. So that's not a food that either of us eat, but the flowers have some properties that she's really excited about. So we will be planting those in a few weeks, and the rest of the garden here is going to be planted up with our annual vegetables. And this is all don't know if you probably can't really see, but beautiful mulch, compost. I really worked hard on the soil here, but this is probably our last season in this garden. This week on Monday we closed on property, which is kind of a dream come true, and it's hopefully our forever property. But we do have the lease to finish out here, so we'll still be living here for the next year or so, but slowly transitioning towards living on our own land. So this will probably be the last year or season for this particular garden. And I will also be limited in my mobility because I am due again in late October around Samhain, so that should be good. But I will have it set up, and hopefully you'll see more of it because I like to film outside when we can, and a little bit of space for the toddler to run around and play and get to be part of the outside, get some nice dirt in her mouth. The other reason that we garden, in addition to all of the sort of spiritual reasons, is also financial. So as a family, we spend about $500, sometimes $600 a month on food. But with the gardening, we can cut that down during those 6 summer months by about $200 for what comes from the garden without a lot of work. Since we do drip irrigation for most of it, it's a scramble to get everything planted in the beginning, but then after that it really is just come out in the early morning for a few minutes, turn the drip on, hang out with the birds and all of the incredible life that's going on, and then just, half an hour later turn it off, and then that's it. Harvest, because we have it set up in such a way that it's such heavy mulching that weeding is really not an issue. And I also garden in such a way that encourages predators to take care of the pests. And then we also use the method of overplanting. So we plant way more than we would actually need, so that if something does come and eat some of the crops, it's fine. Like we're here to share, right? I plant 5 times what I need so that I know that the rabbits get some and the bugs, the squash bugs get some and everybody else gets some too. So that's the method that we use. So gardening, is really central to us. There's been times in our lives where we've lived places where, an apartment complex with a postage stamp of a backyard, and have done pots and containers for, whatever we can manage inside. But because it is something really meaningful and critical to us, when we do choose where we're living and look for places to live, we look for places with gardening opportunities. And again, as I was saying before, hopefully we'll be moving to our forever land, and we'll be able to really develop not just an annual garden, but work on more of a food forest and perennial system that we will get to be part of. So very happy to share this with you this week. I'd love to know about if any of you garden, if you grow things in your windowsill, if you don't have a lot of space, or what is your relationship with that. And until next week, have a great day and wonderful week, of course.